Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla, and with me today I have Fatima. We are really glad that you're here with us, and our goal today is to talk about various mental health related issues and hopefully begin to end the stigma surrounding them. So Fatima, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to talk a little bit about identity and self, especially when there's a lot of maybe loss or trauma going on around people. And I know you were just sharing with me that in your work you've been noticing that more and more. And I know in the past we've talked about even in your own personal life that you've experienced this. So kind of like share a little bit about what you've been noticing.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to be here.
You are very welcome.
And one of the things that I've been noticing is as we have a multitude of titles that we own as women,
Yeah.
how do we still honor our sense of self?
Yeah.
And how do we not lose sight of who we are before we were mothers, not daughters,
Right.
all these different things. Part of my work, I engage once a month with families that have lost loved ones through violence. And one of the themes that I continue to hear is, who am I now that I
Right.
don't have
This
my
child
Yes.
or my husband or my
Yes.
whichever loved one was lost.
Absolutely.
Right, sure.
And how do we reconnect with that sense of self? Like how to and honor that and still find joy and happiness in the midst of the storm.
Well, and probably not feel guilty that they survived or that they're doing
Absolutely.
well or what whatever the case is, who am I to experience this joy because my son is no longer with me or my wife is gone or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel that if once we start to kind of connect the dots between that loss and then bringing it back to then how do we kind of touch base or reconnect with ourselves. So before this loss, and now we're questioning everything about us and our identity and who we are. How do we connect back with the sense of, but we were someone before we were a mom, and we were
Right.
someone before we were a wife, we were someone before all these different titles that we wear.
And so so you're seeing this within your work, but then I also know that this is a theme that you struggle with even personally.
Absolutely.
So, could you share a little bit about that from more of a personal point of view versus, professional point of view?
Absolutely, and one of the things personally that we've had numerous conversations around is like sense of self and like identity. For instance, I'm Arab and I'm Muslim, but I'm also American, and there's things that I want to achieve and do and gain in life that sometimes contradict my upbringing or my
Right.
sense of family and values. And and one of my issues has been is how do I honor who I am as a person in the midst of all these different like the cultural norms, societal norms, and even in the sense of spirituality and religion. And how do we kind of type? For me, it's been a kind of a balance of how do I find who I am and my voice, and also encourage my children to do the same.
So, what strategies have you found or that have been useful? Like, what have you found that has been helpful in kind of navigating through all of this?
I think one for me is finding a support system, a community where I can truly be me
Okay.
and allow my vulnerabilities or my insecurities and speak about them,
Okay.
and speak about them in a way that's non-judgmental, where I'm not being um, made to feel that I am doing something that's against my religion or against my family or against what society says is right or wrong. But
Right, where you're not being shamed
Yes.
about your choices, right?
Absolutely.
Right, or made to feel like you're not enough.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's
Yes.
such a huge thing that everyone faces in one form or another.
Absolutely.
Right. So other than support systems, what else do you do that you've found helpful?
I think for me is connecting with a counselor,
Okay.
and being able to have that one-on-one time with someone that is truly there to kind of help me navigate all the feelings that I have and emotions.
Yeah.
I think growing up in my family, counseling or mental health wasn't something that's brought up.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that we truly ever had conversations around. Certain behaviors were kind of swept under the rug based on gender.
Okay, yeah.
And we kind of made sense of things that were senseless because of upbringing or cultural norms. And for me, that wasn't working, and I couldn't cope with that, and I couldn't comprehend why certain behaviors were accepted when it was done by my brothers, and they're not accepted if I chose to kind of want to go to work or go to school. It was always a struggle.
Right. So we're not talking about acting out or doing things that are inappropriate. I mean, and that
we can definitely talk about that and
right.
the differences.
But I'm sure there's ones there. But the example you gave was I want to go to work, and so it's acceptable for brothers to go to work, and you're being told, yeah, that's not your place.
Right.
Yeah.
And your place is more of like that, still that traditional, the gender roles where why don't you learn how to cook? Why don't you make sure that you can clean, you can iron? And again, and I feel like that forms part of our also personality with people pleasing
right.
and all these different concepts that now I'm trying, now that I'm an adult and I'm in a helping profession and I'm raising my children and trying to break some of those cycles, that I'm noticing even with me what boundaries are.
Yeah.
That wasn't something that was ever talked about, Dr. Carter. Like, what's boundaries?
Yeah.
You just say, you do as I say, and that's it. No questions asked.
Exactly.
And if you sit there and ask questions, then you're being defiant, and those are not the terms that I would like to use with my children.
And then how do you find your sense of self if you're being identified as somebody who's defiant?
Absolutely.
Right? So then you grow up feeling that you're somehow flawed or, not enough. Right? So going back to that. And then when you experience a loss, then what do you what foundational piece do you have to go back to work on, for sure? So, I'm curious, if you could give one piece of advice to our audience, when it comes to, finding your sense of self, whether it's after a loss or whether it's just in general, right? What one little thing do you hope that they take away? Like, what's that nugget that you think would really make a difference in someone's life?
That they are not alone.
Yeah, okay.
That sometimes if it feels like you're by yourself and you're alone and you're lonely, when you start having conversations with people, when you feel comfortable enough to even engage in conversations about how you're feeling or what you're going through, you'll be surprised and amazed to see it and hear that your struggle, you're not alone in
right.
your struggle, that each and every one of us has faced something that made it like a turning point in our life.
Yeah.
And that people want to help, and there is help, and kind of the courage, I think, to find the courage within yourself to say, hey, this doesn't fit, this doesn't feel good to me, and then finding safe places and safe people to go to within your community or outside your community to say, to have a conversation around what it is that you're feeling.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for, kind of giving us a little insight into what, what it's been like for you around finding yourself. So remember, you can change your thoughts and discover your potential and transform your life by focusing on your overall well-being. So until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye now.
Bye.